Hey guys, it's coming to me another movie review for you guys, and this movie I'm going to be reviewing. I have been very interested in this movie, I have to tell you. I mean, ever since I watched the trailer, I was just very fascinated by it, and I knew that I could not do a top 10 list and finish, watching movies in 2015 without watching this movie. And this is a movie that I don't think any of you have really seen. I believe it's a British film. All I know is that it was released on a Solar movie. That's really all I know, is that it was I watched it online. I was able to watch it online. I believe it's a British film though, and you probably, unfortunately, won't be able to hear about it during Oscar time. And that movie is The Lobster. The Lobster was a movie I was just really, really interested in for a number of reasons, but mainly just because of the plot. It was so unusual and so different, and I needed to seek out this movie. I needed to see how this movie was, because to me, this really seemed like a movie that had much deeper themes than I thought it was going to, and then, it seemed, and I was definitely looking forward to this movie. I am so happy I checked out The Lobster, because The Lobster, without a doubt, is a masterpiece and one of the best films of this entire year. I fucking love The Lobster. I mean, this movie is just incredible. So incredible. And let me get to the plot alone, because the plot in general should intrigue you. Basically, this movie takes place in this, I want to say, futuristic world where basically everyone has a partner. Everyone has a partner, everyone's married, everyone just has a lover. That's how it works. However, if they don't have a lover, what happens to them is they are turned into a beast of their choice, and basically that's the plot of The Lobster, and that right away intrigued me, because I'm like, okay, there definitely are deeper themes here, and that's exactly what this movie is. The Lobster is the kind of film where you can't look at it as a regular movie. This is definitely like a David Lynch or Terrence Malick film where everything is deeper than it actually seems, and everything means something bigger. And those are the kind of films that I just love and get so wrapped up in. And that's exactly what I'm going to do in this video. I'm not going to review this movie like a regular movie. I'm going to analyze it. I'm going to talk about what I think they're really trying to say in this movie. And if you guys really want to see this movie, I advise you to not watch the rest of this review, because I'm going to go do spoilers throughout this entire review, and I really want to talk about what I really think this movie is trying to say. What the movie is really about, and I want you guys to go out the chute, because I don't want you guys to know what the movie really is about. What this movie really is about is this man, David, who basically has just lost his wife, and after losing his wife, basically, his wife has left him after 12 years, and he basically is forced to find someone, and he doesn't really know how it's going to work, and if he doesn't find someone, he wants to be turned into a lobster. Now, that's basically what the movie says is, but what I think the movie really is about is all about love. Why do we love? Why do we need love in our lives? What are we going to do without it? That really is what this movie really symbolized. I think they did that very, very well here. Now, the acting in this film is so, so good. Every performance is amazing in this film. But without a doubt, the best actor, without a doubt, is Colin Farrell. Colin Farrell gives what I think is the best performance of his entire career in this movie. He was phenomenal in this movie. I mean, his character, David, is so relatable. I mean, the whole movie, he's just trying to make connections. He really is. He's trying to make connections with all these different women, and he doesn't really know if this is going to work out for him. He doesn't really understand the society, and he really hasn't known much about it, mainly because of the fact that he's been happily married for 12 years, and he really feels different all alone. He doesn't understand how it is to be alone, and he doesn't really know if he's going to be able to find that love again. Everything going on with this character was so great, so relatable, and I just loved everything they did with him. He did an incredible job, and I just loved how we saw that he's kind of lost without love, and he really doesn't know what his purpose is without it, and I absolutely loved it about his character. He did an incredible job and gives, without a doubt, one of the best performances of the entire year, and the best performance, I think, of his entire career. He was just amazing, and I loved his portrayal of David. But something I really do love about this movie that I think is very interesting is that besides David, we don't get any other names of these characters. We do eventually, but besides David, the other characters are not named. They're something like, oh, the short-sighted woman, or the legged, the one-legged man, things like that. And I found that to be very interesting the way they did that, mainly because the big part of this movie is it doesn't matter what their names are. As long as they have the same traits as what that individual has, that's how they get together. And I found that all to be very interesting. And Rachel Weisz also is incredible in this film. At first, she's simply just this narration throughout the movie. You don't really know what's going on there. But then she does meet up with her. And when these two do eventually meet up, it's really interesting. And I really love the way they portrayed their love story. And it's not a love story in the way you think it's going to be. And I really love that. They both did an incredible job. Some of the best chemistry I've seen all year. And they both were fantastic. Definitely loved their storyline. They were both great. Everyone else is great, I definitely thought everyone else did a really great job. There are definitely some great highlights throughout the film. John C. Reilly is amazing in this movie. He really gave an incredible performance. I loved his character. There's some great stuff they did with him that I will definitely get into. I love the one that played the nosebleed woman, Jessica Barden. She was really great. Ben Whishaw is fantastic in this movie, and Leah Sado, oh my god, Leah Sado, I mean, she doesn't come into this movie till the second half, but once she comes into this movie, damn is she menacing, damn is she powerful, and I will say this, she's definitely the main villain of the film. She really was incredible, and I really loved her character, and really brought up this really interesting plot point that I didn't see coming, and I really love where they went with it. But overall, all the acting is fantastic. That's not the thing that makes this film work out so well. It is the directing by Yorgos Lanthimos that I really have to credit. Now, Yorgos Lanthimos has done movies like this before. He did a movie called Dogtooth, which I heard is a very interesting concept, but it mainly is just, there's not really a lot to it. There's not much of a plot. It's not that interesting. Most people don't really like that movie. And most people say this is Yorgos Lanthimos' first big masterpiece. And I really would agree with that, because what I loved about this film that he did is he tried to do something different. He tried to do something that's not known before. And he really did that very, very well. Just his style in general was so well told, and I love that this wasn't really based off of anything. That's something I definitely really appreciate, is his directing in this film. He just did an incredible job, I have to say. And it's unlike anything I've seen before, and some of you probably aren't really gonna like this movie. In fact, I explained to some people, they thought it sounds fucking weird, and I can understand that. It does sound very weird, but you really need to look beyond the surface. Like I said, this is the kind of movie where every bit of dialogue means something deeper, and that's exactly what I loved about this movie, and his directing was just fantastic. It's a very different style. It never goes in a conventional direction, and I really appreciated the way he did that. I absolutely love that, and he really directed this to perfection. Definitely did an incredible job with his directing, and definitely should be credited, because definitely his directing is one of the best things about this film. The screenplay is so, so good. I loved this world. Honestly, I thought it was so interesting. Just the entire world lies in the fate of this one hotel, and you go to this hotel, and you have only 45 days, I forgot to say, 45 days to find someone, or else you're going to be turned to a beast. And it's incredible to think about. But it really does make a lot of sense if you think about it. I mean, think about someone that doesn't really have love, or someone that doesn't have someone to depend on, or someone to talk to. They're gonna go crazy, and it really does make a lot of sense as to why they're doing this. If you guys notice, they never really explain why this society is the way it is, and I like that they don't really explain it, because that's not what's important. What's important is that's the way the world is, and I definitely really love the way that they handled it. I mean, they really, just the things of what you can and can't do, the restrictions that you have, what you could do to get away from it all, just was very, very interesting. Was a very detailed thing, and I really think Yorgos Lanthimos really got involved in this and really tried to think about, okay, what can I do, what can I not do, what can you do in this world, what can you not do. It's very interesting. I definitely really love that, and all of these stories of them trying to find love is really, really interesting. At first, this movie is simply just these three men, Colin Farrell, Ben Whishaw, and John C. Reilly, all trying to find love, and the, success and failures they have with finding it, and I definitely really love that. They all have really interesting stories, But then the second half, it completely changed, and I definitely really love the way they did that. And the way everyone's forced to find love based on traits, I also thought was really incredible. It's also riddled with dark humor. I mean, there's some really dark humor in here to the point where I didn't know if I was supposed to laugh or not. And that's something I really love. And again, this is not a movie that you take at face value. This is a movie that you really have to think about it and really decipher what the fuck they're trying to say. And I really appreciate the way they did that. A lot of movies are afraid of doing that, and I really love the way that they handled it. It was perfect. It was very well done, and just so interesting. They kept the movie so interesting. Without a doubt, this is some of the best cinematography I have seen all year. The cinematography of this movie looks incredible. This looks like a futuristic world. It looks very well done. I love the way the cinematography looked to this movie. The way the world looked was really interesting. And just the words in general. This is a movie where the cinematography is descriptive in just the way they say things. And I found that to be very interesting, the way the cinematography was done. Beautiful cinematography. The woods was a huge character in this movie. The cinematography is definitely a character in this film, and they really did it very well. The beasts look amazing, and the thing about the beasts that you're just thinking, these used to be people, and you really do feel bad when they're treating these beasts like beasts. They really are, and that's something I love. The way the beasts are kind of just like shunned from society are really interesting. And the way that David doesn't fully understand that, doesn't fully comprehend that man and beast are not supposed to interact. They're supposed to be completely isolated from the rest of the world. I found to be very interesting, and I definitely loved the way they did that. I mean, it's very disturbing. It really is. I mean, even though this is rated with dark humor, it's very disturbing. And I thought they did that all very well. And it's very insightful as well, and know what it's trying to say. And I'll get to what the movie's really trying to say. The score, god damn, I love this score. Oh my god, this score. I mean, the second I heard, I'm like, that is one of the best scores I have heard all year. It's so mysterious and so dark, and just, it's perfect for this movie. That da 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 da. I can't wait to, honestly, I want to get the soundtrack of this movie. I really do. It's such a beautiful score. There's a part in this movie towards the end where they have this other beautiful score. It reminded me of The Leftovers, guys. It really did. A lot of this movie reminded me of The Leftovers in the sense of the way the score really heightened the tension and always came in at the right times. They have the score throughout the movie, and it really works very well. I love the score of this movie. A beautiful score, and I really hope the soundtrack is on iTunes, because I really do want to get the score to this film, because it is truly beautiful, and I just love the way they did the score. Amazing stuff, very suspenseful, and really kept me into the film. Definitely really did love the score of this movie. I also love the narration in the film. The way the narration isn't told and things aren't told is a big deal. I found very interesting, and I definitely really loved it. But and again, it's just because that's the way the world is, and I thought the way they did that all was really great. The editing, the movie went by so fast for me. It's 118 minutes, and it went by so fast. I was into it the whole time, and I absolutely loved the way the editing was done. The movie really isn't filmed like other films, and I definitely really appreciate what they did there, and I definitely thought that was very well done. But now, guys, I really want to talk about the deeper meanings of this movie, because like I said, this is not really a movie that I review necessarily then more than, examine. This is more of a movie that I examine. I talk about the deeper themes. I talk about really what this movie's trying to accomplish, and that's something I really do want to talk about. And if you guys haven't seen The Lobster, don't watch the rest of this review, okay? I don't want you guys to know anything that happens in The Lobster. I want you guys to go into this movie knowing exactly what I've told you so far, and other than that, I don't want you guys to really know anything. So let's just talk about it, because damn is there a lot to talk about. Let's first talk about this world in general. What do I really think this world is all about? Why do I think the world is like this? Well, let's think about people that don't have love and don't make connections and don't really have anyone to depend on. We as humans need interaction. We just do. We need interaction. We need someone to talk to. We need connections, because if we don't have connections, who are we going to talk to? Who are we going to reach out to? You need someone, if you don't have someone, you're going to go crazy. It's that simple. You're going to go crazy. You're going to not have anyone to depend on you, and you need someone like that. And that's something I thought they did very well in this movie. That's really what this movie's trying to say, is that without connections, we really do go crazy. But then let's take a look at these relationships that are formed. Specifically, the first one that's formed is between our limping man and nosebleed woman, who the limping man, I think, does not really have an attraction to. I don't think this really is about attraction. You can tell this isn't exactly about attraction. The limping man is simply doing this to get the fuck out of there and not turn into a beast. He doesn't want to turn into a beast. He doesn't want to, have to suffer. So he basically pretends to fall in love with this nosebleed woman, starts banging his nose against things to make it seem like he has nosebleeds like her. And I thought that was very well done the way that they handled that, because let's think about it. All of this love is supposed to be based on traits that you agree with. It's no longer about love. I mean, think of the short-sighted woman and David. They never at this point really seem like they love each other. They seem more like they are forced to be together, and that's why he's picked her. He's picked her simply because he had to pick a woman, and because they had one small connection, they're supposed to be together. And I've seen this idea in other things, like, for example, The Giver. I will say that I've seen it in things like that, but not in the way it's done in this movie. This movie portrays love as the difference between superficial and the difference between real. I think when David first meets the short-sighted woman, he has no intent of actually falling in love with her. He simply just wants to be with her so he can get away. I mean, especially when he sees his brother shot, who was a dog, and it's incredible to watch. I mean, let's examine that first scene. One of my favorite openings of the year, without a doubt. I mean, just seeing that woman go up to that dog and shoot it, and just thinking, holy shit, that used to be a human being, and now she's shooting it, is incredible to think about, and they really handled all that very, very well. But something I loved even more than that was the idea of the loners in this movie. When he goes to the loners, I found this to be very interesting. Because the loners forbid romance, of course. They can't fall in love. And that I found to be very interesting. The way that he kind of starts to form a secret relationship with her. And he doesn't know if he should be with her. I really love that. The way they tried to overthrow society. Yes, we've seen this idea done before, but the way that David does it, I thought was a lot more interesting. And I definitely really love that. Even they, develop a code just so they can communicate that they love each other. Anything they can do to show that these two love one another. I thought that was beautifully done. I love the way that they did that. And of course, there's the character of the loner leader, played by Leah Sadu, who is everything this movie is trying to say. She believes in no love, and that two people should not love, and that love is dead, and it's not real. It's a very interesting examination of society, and how one person that's not going to fall in love could change everything, and I really loved seeing that. The fact that there are these loners out there. And what I love is that the loners are never mentioned till David sees them. So David doesn't think something's going to happen to him. He just thinks he can get away from all this, and that this hotel won't do this to him. But the loners are just as bad, and I love seeing that in this movie. They really handled that very, very well. It was very hard to watch at points, definitely, and especially when the loner leader realizes that the short-sighted woman and David might be starting to fall in love. She at first is trying to cure her short sight, so that way these two won't fall in love, so that way these two won't have a similar traits, and instead she makes her blind. And what I loved about this is, even though she's blind, David still wants to be with her. He still feels the only way he can be with her is that he can, is by simply just going blind himself. However, let's talk about the whole thing with David and the nosebleed woman. When he tells the nosebleed woman that her husband, after all this time, has been faking his nosebleeds. All this time he's been doing that, and it was all fake. And it's an incredible scene to find out. And you have to wonder, why did David do the same thing? Why is David trying to do the same thing that he did? Because he wants to get out of there as well. It's all about society. It's all about majority. And it's really interesting the way that they handled that. David is so afraid of being alone that he simply has to be with someone, because that's the norm for him. He can't not be alone. He can't be alone. He can't not be with someone because he's been with his wife for 12 years. One of my favorite parts in this film is when he tells a short-sighted woman, even though I'm falling in love with you, I will never not love my wife. It's very interesting the way we see that, because the love he has for a short-sighted woman is not really love. It's definitely more superficial. It's more just him trying to get out of there, and him thinking he needs this love. And it's very interesting the way the movie deals with that. In fact, the hotel, what I love is that the way they handle that are just very, very interesting. The way that they're like, oh, if you want to go have sex, that's not our problem, things like that. I just found all of that to be very interesting. The way that basically in this world, if you find someone, you're done. You're not their problem anymore. And I found that to be very interesting the way they handle that. You know, they make it this big ceremony. People aren't married in this world. They're simply just forced to be together based on one trait, and I love the way that that was handled. And then something else I really love is John C. Riley's character, the lisping man, basically not being able to find love, and how masturbation is illegal in this world is very interesting, because again, it really goes to the fear of being alone. And masturbation, I mean, in this world, it kind of seems like they believe masturbation is a sense of being alone, and they don't want that. They don't want them to be alone. And I found that to all be very, very interesting. And I really, really loved finding all this out. All of it was extremely interesting. Just the way they create all of it, I loved. And what I'm trying to say, I know I'm starting to ramble here, guys, but what I'm really trying to say about this movie is what the movie really is about is love. Why do we love? What do we need love for? What would we do without it? I mean, love is very interesting. Love is something that a lot of people can't comprehend. And in this world, love is no longer love. Love is simply just, love is superficial. Love is something they need to stay sane. And the way they portrayed it, I thought was very well handled. I definitely really love that. And David's explanation of being Lobster, I also really loved him saying, "I'm gonna live 100 years, all being all alone," and the woman telling him, you know, we've always heard people say dog or something like that, and that David is just different. He wants to do something more. I love the ending of this movie as well, where we don't know if he's successful in blinding himself. And, now that the short sighted woman is now the blinded woman, he wants to be blind because he feels that's what's going to make them together. She seems concerned. She really does seem concerned. She doesn't seem like I think the blinded woman really does love him. She actually does love him, while David is simply just doing this to get out of there. He wants to be with her because he wants to get out of there, and I found that all to be very interesting. The way they ended the movie I thought was great, and I love that the loner leader, he attacked her because the loner leader is ruining everything. David is going with society, and before he was trying to break it, he really was, but now that he's in here, he's trapped with society. He can't get out of it, and the short-sighted woman clearly does not agree with society. She actually wants to love David, but he doesn't see love in the way that everyone else, he sees love in the way everyone else does. He sees it as a superficial way that everyone else does, and I really love finding all that out. But overall, guys, The Lobster is an incredible film. That's really what I think the movie's about, and if I'm wrong, guys, I really do want to know your thoughts on it, because like I said, this movie really is up for interpretation, and it really is a movie that you need to examine very fully. And it's definitely a movie I'd probably give a second look to, but it will without a doubt be in my top 10 list. These are kind of movies that I love. I love how daring this movie was. I love how different it was, and I just loved that I've never really seen a movie like this before. And without a doubt, The Lobster gets a 5 out of 5 or an A+. It is an incredible movie with incredible themes that are very important and really, I think, need some further examination than they have. And the notes you guys saw this movie have seen it. I have 4 more movies to review for you guys for this year. 4 more, honestly, 4 more, and then I'm done. And I will see you guys in the next review, which will be for another movie review, and I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.